Alright, so nagbabalik tayo sa ating violin tips and tricks. And for today's video, let's talk about Rosin. Ayan. So, ito yung ginagamit kong Rosin. It's L'Opera Jade. And I've been using this since 2017. Kasi maganda yung kapit niya. For me, no? Ayan. So, pag-uusapan natin, how frequently should you be putting rosin and how frequently should you be changing rosins as well, no? Kasi a lot of people think that rosins would be like you use one cake forever, no? Pero minsan hindi naman yun yung nangyayari kasi we tend to break them tapos yun, bili ka na ng bago. Yan. So, when it comes to putting rosin on the bow, it really would depend on your use case. Kung gaano ka katagal gumamit, gaano ka katagal mag-practice, and also with the weather. So, in the Philippines, the climate is very tropical, so medyo basa yung hangin. So, I think it also affects the amount you need to put in ng rosin. No? Yan. So, personally, I put rosin on my bows when I use them daily at around maybe 3 after every 3 to 7 days. So, almost a week before I put in rosin. That's just for me, no? For my playing style, my experience, and how I use my bow. So, I don't put rosin if I feel that my bows are still grippy. Kung medyo sticky pa yung dumidikit pa yung hairs ng bow ko, I don't usually put rosin. So, I put rosin maybe when I feel that it's very, very slippery na. So, talagang wala na. Kasi, of course, if you have a bow na lagi mo nilalagyan ng rosin, for some beginners, they think every time they need to play, they need to put in rosin. Ano yung mangyayari? Ganito yung mangyayari. Diba? Magiging dark yung parts na hindi masyadong tinatamaan ng strokes or ng bowing, which is usually here at the ends, no, sa nut and usually sa tip, ganun. So, nangingitim because of rosin residue and build up. No? Siyempre, if you have a new bow, of course, you need to put more often rosin, diba? Kailangan mas madami ka maglagay, mas madalas ka maglalagay ng rosin if your bow is fairly new kasi hindi siya kakapit. We need rosin for what? For grip, in order for our bows to sound on our instrument. So, kailangan mas talaga maglagay. Now, I think maybe in a month or 2, kapag everyday ka naglalagay, magsisettle na siya, masasanay na yung bow mo ng ganon. And then, you get used to using it and you don't need to put a lot of rosin, no? Yun nga, for me personally, no, 3 days after a week, no? Sabi nila, I think playing for around 4 to 6 hours mawawala na yung rosin, so you have to put it, no? Of course, when you're putting in rosin, you don't want to put so much na nagiging powdery na siya, nagiging white na yung violin mo because of the rosin buildup or the rosin residue, because it also affects the sound of your instrument. So you have to be careful not to put so much. You just need to put enough so that your bow will sound good, no? Usually I brush off the excess or ginaganon lang natin yung excess, no? Tinatanggal natin just so you have enough that covers your hair, the bow hairs, and enough for it to really grip onto your instrument, no? So, kasi mapapansin mo yun, especially for beginners, pag ayaw tumunog ng instrument nila, sabihin, ay, kulang sa rosin. And then they put so much, so nagiging scratchy na, no? Iniwasan natin, of course, to get that scratchy sound. We want it to be nice and clean. And it will also affect your playing. If you're too dependent on putting so much rosin on your bows, mahirapan ka patunugin siya. Paano kung nawalan ng rosin, di ba? So, of course, I know a lot of professionals have experienced this. Playing outdoors really is not a good thing when it comes to putting rosin kasi lagay ka ng lagay tapos dahil nga humid na yung air, nawawala rin yung sound niya, hindi mo siya mapatunog, dumudulas yung bow. So, you have to get used to those kinds of things, no? Na hindi ka lagay ng lagay because you can still control your bow, no? For example, this bow, I think I put Rosin on this over 2 weeks na kasi hindi ko na ito ginagamit madalas. And it would still sound. Meron lang konting kakaibang parang nagiging hindi na ganun kakapet yung tunog niya. Of course, kasi nga hindi natin nilalagyan ng rosin. Because yes, I don't usually put rosin on all my bows, especially if I don't use them that much. Kasi syempre, what ends up happening if you put a lot on your bow nga, magbi-build up lang siya. And then, you have to rehair again, no? Kasi kahit linisin mo yung bow hairs, of course, papangit na yung quality nun pag ginalaw mo na siya. So, as much as possible, only put rosin on bows that you are using frequently, no? Kung hindi mo man siya gagamitin, you have to brush it off, tanggalin mo yung excess na rosin. And if you're gonna store it, diba? Kasi mangingitim talaga yung bow hair, sayang naman yung buhok ng bow, diba? If you're not gonna use it. And of course, also the stick, kasi rosin will become powdery, no? And it would really literally stick to the wood, and malagkit siya. Pangit yung pakiramdam kapag tinanggal mo siya. It cakes up, no? Also on the instruments, that's why you always need to wipe down your instruments. Yan. So, now when it comes to buying rosin, I've talked to some people, they said na usually daw it dries up, no? And it is true that rosin dries up because it's made of what? It's made of tree sap, diba, yung rosins natin. So, this cake, I think I had this for 2 years. So, pag nagda-dry up siya, kasi, what ends up happening to your rosin is it won't stick to the bow anymore. No? If that happens, there are certain things you can do to reinvigorate the life of your rosin. Parang bubuhayin mo ulit siya. And one thing is to parang take off the top layer of that rosin by using a very fine grit sandpaper. Ayan. So, yung iba kasi ang ginagawa, kinakaskas ng blade or kinakaskas ng susi. So, don't do that because number one, it would create ridges on your rosin that will make your application harder. Mas mahirapan ka ilagay, hindi magiging pantay yung paglalagay mo. So, you have to use a very, very fine grit. Siguro around 1,000 to 1,300. So, just take off the top layer of that dried out rosin. Yun, tapos pwede mo na ulit siyang gamitin, di ba? And you can also like melt your rosin so that hindi mo naman kailangan agad bumili, di ba? So, you can still reuse your old rosin. You just melt it down, let's say in an oven, in a nice mold, so that when it comes out, mas madali mo siyang gamitin, magagamit mo pa rin siya. Yan. So, when it comes to rosin, kasi it's something that a lot of people tend to take for granted. I have students nga that they don't have rosin, pero ang hirap tumugtog pag wala. But too much of something can also cause problems. So, make sure you put enough. Make sure you don't put too frequently, especially kung nagpa-practice kayo 30 minutes a day, especially for beginners, diba? You don't need to put rosin every time you're gonna use it. So, have this number in mind of 4 to 6 hours of playing before putting another set of powder or rosin on your bows, para at least you have maximize the use of it. And if it feels different, and pag nagsa-slide na and it really affects your playing, I think that is also one good time to put in more rosin. Ayan. So, sana nakatulong tong video na to. If it did, drop a like, comment down below more content you'd like to see, and also share your rosin experiences, no, down on the comment section. And of course, subscribe to my YouTube channel. This has been Ryan Monakil for Violin Tips and Tricks, and I'll see you on the next video.